failure training is one of the most popular techniques in bodybuilding and strength sports. In fact, many people believe that programs are worthless without training to failure, and there are entire routines based around simply training to failure. In this video, I'm going to break down what training to failure is, what the benefits are, what the downsides are, and how you can properly implement it into your training and get the maximum benefits. Training to failure is typically defined as taking a weight for a number of repetitions until you can no longer complete another repetition with good form in the concentric phase. There is some science behind training to failure, but mostly I think why it became popular was because it's taking something and going as hard as you possibly can. Now, there is some science to show that if you take, for example, a certain amount of weight for a certain amount of reps, and that same weight, you take it to failure, it appears that taking it to failure produces superior strength and hypertrophy gains, at least in the short term. One of the reasons that failure can be beneficial is because you recruit as many muscle fibers as possible. And muscle fibers are recruited in an order from slow twitch to fast twitch. And we know the fast twitch fibers are the ones that are the biggest and have the most potential for muscle growth. And they're recruited from smallest to largest. When you start doing a certain weight, the body's going to recruit the minimum number of muscle fibers it needs to do that weight because it's more efficient. It's less energy. If it's a very, very heavy weight and you're only doing like say 3 or 4 reps, obviously on the first rep you're going to be recruiting quite a bit of fast twitch fibers as well. But if you're doing, let's say, a light weight for 15 reps, as you progress through the set, as you get closer and closer to failure, your body's going to recruit more and more and more muscle fibers. By training to failure, you're kind of ensuring that you recruit the maximum amount of muscle fibers. So the benefits of training to failure are you stimulate the maximum number of muscle fibers because you're going to complete muscular failure. You create more metabolic stress, which seems to have a beneficial effect on hypertrophy, and you get to see a true test of your strength in that repetition range for that weight. There are some conflicts in research in terms of how to implement training to failure. I have my own opinions on it, but a lot of people believe that training to failure should be used very often, and there's some people who believe it shouldn't be used at all. I think the truth is probably in between those two viewpoints. There's definitely research that shows if you train to failure too much and too frequently, that you will start to have decrements in your performance. That it appears that you cannot recover well enough from that in order to have consistently productive training sessions. I was on a review for the Journal of Strength and Conditioning with a few other authors, and we talked about how it's probably best to only train consistently to failure for about 6 weeks before taking a week or 2 off from training to failure, because you start to see quite a bit of performance decrements, and it appears that that accumulation of fatigue needs time to dissipate before you add it back in. If you do training to failure too often, you limit the amount of volume you can do. There's a lot of different things that promote hypertrophy and strength: metabolic stress, training to failure, tension, time under tension, weight used, intensity. But the biggest parameter associated with hypertrophy and strength is actually volume. Simply weight times reps times sets. Now it's not the only thing that's important. People take that too far in one direction. You can't just lift a light weight for a ton of reps and probably get the same benefits as, say, over 60% of your 1 rep max. But it seems like after you get above 50 to 60% of your 1 rep max, that volume is most closely associated with hypertrophy and strength. Intensity techniques like rest pause or forced reps or forced eccentrics are all things that do seem to have some benefits. But if I was going to use those, I would definitely save them till the end of a workout after I've gotten my volume in and the very last sets I'm doing, and then maybe implement some rest pause or forced reps or forced eccentrics, because at that point, when you do those intensity techniques on top of training to failure, your performance is really going to go down if you try to do sets after that. So I would save that for something like the end of a workout where you've gotten your volume in, you've had good technique on your different exercises, and then you can take a few things past failure. The next time you step in the gym, make sure you get your volume work in beforehand. put your failure training at the end of an exercise on your last set. And then if you're going to use intensity techniques, put it at the very end of your workout, so you're not negatively impacting the performance of the rest of your workout during that time. I think 1 time per week per exercise is probably a good mark to start with, and then 1 time per week of using some sort of intensity technique if you want to go there as well. If you have any questions about failure training or anything in general, you can find me on the bodybuilding.com message boards, or you can follow me on my social media, Instagram at BioLayne, Twitter at BioLayne, and on Facebook, my fan page, Layne Norton. For more articles and videos and other great content, keep coming back to bodybuilding.com.